Quest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to Inner Quest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Diane Willis. Welcome, Diane.
Oh, thank you.
It's an honor and privilege to have you here. Diane's spiritual path began in 1995 after her near-death experience. In May 1998, she started and continues to lead the Chicago IANDS, and IANDS stands for International Association for Near-Death Studies, and the newly formed IC organization. She was classically trained as a musician, but Diane now improvises music on Native American flutes. Her mission in life is to help people lose their fear of death. First of all, what is this organization called IC?
IC is the International Society for Extraordinary Experiences, which is kind of a break-off from Chicago IANDS, because Chicago IANDS is about the near-death experience, and IC will be about all kinds of extraordinary experiences.
Well, interesting you should say that. Did you ever hear Abraham Maslow wrote a book called Peak Religious and Transcendent Experiences? So he wrote a whole book on near-death experiences. Or not on near-death, on peak experiences.
Extraordinary experiences, yes.
You know, and initially when Maslow was doing his research, he thought not many people were going to have experiences, these extraordinary experiences, but what he discovered was most people had them, they just didn't have the language with which to explain them, or he didn't know how to ask the questions. Well, let's first talk about your flute, and then you brought with one of your CDs called Improvisations from the Other Side, and I must say it's an extraordinary CD, and one of the reasons why it's such a privilege to have you here is because I listen to your music when I meditate, and I find your music helps me to meditate. Now, you brought a couple of your instruments. You want to talk a little bit about the instruments you brought?
Well, I have quite a few because Native American flutes are made in one key. They can't play easily in a lot of keys, so you need a variety of instruments so that you can play with different
now,
keys.
Do Native American musicians play in like bands, or they just kind of go off and play on their own?
It varies a little bit. There's some question as to how long the flute was part of the Native American musical scene. Carlos Nakai, the well-known Native American flutist, suggested that they came with the first settlers to the United States who were building their first organs, and they had little pieces of organ pipe chopped up and made them into flutes. But certainly little bone whistles and other kinds of flutes existed for centuries before that.
Now I notice at the end of each of your flutes there's some type of wood sticking out. Is there any significance in that?
Yeah, the native flute has a chamber in the middle section here, so the air goes into the chamber, goes up on one hole, and then across. There's a little groove under the bird, and it goes across that and hits this edge over here. It's basically a whistle, but it's kind of a fancy whistle.
Now, you're classically trained as a musician. Were you playing the flute prior to you picked up the Native American flute?
I never played Native American flute until after I went to the other side in spring of '95. And I couldn't improvise two notes in a row. That all came with my own experience in spring of '95.
And so when you play the flute, does that help you to re-experience the positive experience of going to the other side?
Not exactly. Actually, when I play, most of the time I feel as if I close my eyes and I feel as if I leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know what I played until I listen to it later.
Okay. Well, would you bless our audience with some of your music, please?
Okay, sure.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Now, do you have a teacher who taught you how to play the flute, or you just...
Well, the regular flute I did, but not for these. I just, after I had my experience, a Native American flute maker in Colorado called me out of the blue, and I had made no effort to contact him. Mm-hmm. And he asked me if I would take some of his flutes. And I really didn't think I wanted any, because the one that I had gotten at a flea market in Santa Fe, and it was terrible. And I thought, well, that's enough of that. I really don't need any more. But when he called me and I didn't call him, I knew that there was something bigger at work here, and that I should take them. And so I did, and I could play them right away, and they were much better than the one I'd gotten in Santa Fe.
Have you ever played for Native Americans?
Yes, I think so, a number of times. Yeah.
Yeah. How's the feedback from the Native Americans when you played for them?
They generally like it. Most people like it somehow or another.
Yeah. Would you tell our audience about your near-death experience?
My experience was a command performance. I didn't actually die to have my experience. I had been actually raised in St. Louis, and very Midwestern, middle-class, average existence. I went to a Lutheran high school, and I was told never mess with spirituality, it was evil, and I never did. I didn't know if I believed psychics were real, and I didn't know if, if any of this was even possible. And so I never messed with it. But in spring of '95, I was gradually guided to meditate, and I have to tell you, I got all the way through the 60s without even trying, thinking that it was just boring. I thought you just sat there and tried to clear your mind. I had no clue what it really was.
Well, do you have a clue now?
I definitely have a clue now.
You want to tell our audience a little bit about meditation today? How you experience or describe your meditation?
Well, when I started to meditate, within the first few days, funny things started happening. The first thing that happened was I suddenly had complete memories of having meditated thousands of times, and at the time I didn't believe in reincarnation, so I had no clue what this was. I kept asking people, well, how can you